closer look at the 3 Iranian nuclear sites that have been attacked by the U.S. The Fordow enrichment plant is estimated to be 80 meters underground. That's well out of reach of Israeli missiles and requires more advanced U.S. weaponry. Natanz is Iran's biggest nuclear site and can enrich uranium to 60%. It's also heavily fortified with underground infrastructure. Isfahan is another critical nuclear site, which is a uranium conversion plant. Let's go live now to our correspondent in the Iranian capital, Tohid Asadi. Tohid, good morning to you. Can you tell us about the initial reaction in Iran to the U.S. strikes and what the damage assessment is at this hour?
Well, actually, when it comes to the early reactions, we've got this statement from the Atomic Energy Organization of the country, and also another statement just came out a few minutes ago about about actually the signs of contamination. They said that there is no sign of nuclear contamination as of date, according to their data. It's a statement that we heard from the Center for Nuclear Safety. Also, they said that there is no danger for people living in the nearby area. But speaking of a previous statement that we got from the Nuclear Energy or Atomic Energy Organization of the country, they confirmed that 3 nuclear sites, Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan, were targeted by the airstrikes of quote-unquote enemy. And also they said that that's a quite clear contradiction of international law, in particular NPT. Iran is a signatory of which, and also they said that IAEA, the UN nuclear watchdog, should be criticized for its indifference and quote-unquote even support as a result of which this recent strikes are taking place. And also they said that these sites, these places targeted, were under full inspection of IAEA, and that the national industry related to nuclear program of the country is not going to be stopped there. This is the very latest statement that we have from the Iranian side. We are still waiting. I am sure that it doesn't answer the very fundamental question that is out there, which is how Iran is going to react right now.
Indeed.
For that, we are waiting for further military and political statements coming out, as this recent statement looks to be more technical, but we can consider this bigger context in which Iran is saying,
and you are right to say that
decides to.
You are right to say that it's too early now for the political reactions, because it's very early in the morning in Tehran. But just to recap what you were telling us, what we heard from the Iranian Atomic Agency is that no sign of contamination right now as a result of these 3 U.S. strikes on these 3 sites, and no danger for the people living around these sites. Which brings me to the question of whether there was any sort of preparations made by the Iranian authorities in anticipation of a potential U.S. strike on these sites. We have been talking for a number of days now about the Fordow plant. Were there preparations made to clear these sites, perhaps, in advance?
Yes, I can cite the same statement that came from the Center for Nuclear Safety of the country. They said that there was some preparation, and also initially we've got this report from IRIB, the state TV, claiming that no nuclear material, no dangerous material were there under when these strikes took place. I'm sure that we have to keep waiting for further details, as still we don't have anything about damage assessment coming from the Iranian side. For that, we should keep waiting. But what we know is that based on what they have put out as a sort of a statement, we can rest assured that Iranians were sort of prepared for this, specifically after Donald Trump, the U.S. president, came out to say that there is a possibility for such a strike. And now, as I told you earlier, and as you mentioned, they're saying that for the people living nearby, there is no danger, according to the latest data. But still, we have to keep in mind that this is not the first time that Iran's nuclear facilities are being targeted. Previously, from day one of the Israeli strikes, Natanz was targeted for several times alongside with other nuclear facilities of the country. And from the Iranian side, what we are having at these over the past few days is that these centers were under full inspection of IAEA, and that is quite contradictory to the international law, as the statement coming from the Atomic Energy Organization of the country says. But speaking again of a broader context, we have to keep in mind that Iranians previously were saying that the United States is there to be blamed because it gave a sort of green light for the initiation of the Israeli strikes. And of course, they had a role there when it comes to the resolution that was adopted by the Board of Governors of IAEA. They're saying that this resolution was drafted and then supported by the United States and other three European countries. Also, we had this earlier warning, speaking of the response, something that is critically important at the time being.
Right. Tohid, let me just ask you, let me jump in there and ask you about the options on the table now for Iran. Prior to the U.S. Attacking these three sites, the Iranian had warned against any U.S. intervention in the conflict between Iran and Israel. We are, of course, as you said, waiting for political reaction. But what might Iran do next? How will they respond to the U.S. entering the conflict?
Well, speaking of the details, so far Iranians have decided not to spill the beans about their plans, but the very gist of the matter was something that we heard from the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei when it comes to his very latest video statement that came out a couple of days ago. He said that the possibility of U.S. intervention runs the risk of quote-unquote irreversible damage, and he said that previously that is going to lead into escalation. And it was also Iranian president, Iranian foreign minister, they're all saying that this possibility, which is now getting translated into reality, runs the risk of dragging the entire escalation, which is already in an unprecedented level, to a next level, in which there is a possibility for a regional all-out war scenario that is a very dangerous scenario, according to Iranian officials. And Iranians are saying that we haven't prepared for this. We talked to one of military officials, security officials. He said that we haven't prepared for it in the last 10 years, and we are going to have no problem with prolonged war, according to this military official who told us about that possibility. The thing is that Iranians are prepared for that, but speaking of the reaction, they're saying that any American asset in the region is going to be a potential retaliatory target when it comes to Iranian response. But now that red line is crossed. American intervention, something Iranians were warning about, is there as a part of reality on the ground. But still, we have to keep waiting to see how Iran is going to formulate its response.
Okay, Tohid, we will, of course, be checking in with you throughout the morning here when we get more reaction from Iran. Tohid Asadi in Tehran. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.